I almost didn't open that door. I'd been sitting alone, for 3 hours. Just me, the speakers, and the past. 55 years old, and some nights still feel like 24. The knock came soft at first. I ignored it. Then it came again. I set down the headphones, slow. I walked to the door, and I opened it. Standing there was a boy, maybe 19, maybe younger. He had a USB drive in his hand. He said, "I heard you were here. I wanted to play you something." I looked at him for a long moment. I saw something familiar in his eyes, hunger, fear, and something trying to hide both. I stepped aside. I said, "Come in." He walked in like it was a church, looking at everything, touching nothing. I watched him. I thought about the first time I walked into a studio. I was shaken then too. Well, I sat down. I said, "Play it." He plugged in the USB. The beat came through the speakers, raw, unfinished, real. I closed my eyes, I listened, and somewhere in those 2 minutes, I heard something I hadn't heard in a long time, myself, at the beginning. When the track ended, neither of us spoke. He was waiting for a verdict, but I wasn't thinking about the track anymore. I was thinking about a night. 30 years ago, I was 24. I had just come out of a situation that almost took everything. I remember sitting in a car outside my mother's apartment, just sitting, engine off, dark outside. I had the world watching me, and I had never felt more alone. Never. I didn't call anyone. I didn't know how. I had spent so many years being the strong one, the voice, the symbol, the answer. I forgot to be a person. I sat in that car for 4 hours. I didn't go inside. I told myself she was asleep. But the truth was, I didn't know what to say to her. I had given so much of myself to strangers. I had nothing left for the people who loved me. Nothing. The boy broke the silence. He said, "So, what do you think?" I looked up. I said, "I think you came here for a feature, but I think you need something else." He laughed a little, nervous. He said, "Like what?" I said, "Sit down. I'm going to tell you some things. Things I wish somebody told me. I built so much on anger when I was young. I thought it was fuel. And it was, for a while. But fuel burns out, and when it did, I had nothing underneath. No peace, no stillness, nothing. I leaned forward. Don't mistake intensity for strength. Real strength is quiet. Real strength lets people in. He nodded slow, like he was hearing something he already knew, but needed someone to say out loud. I used to walk into a room, and 10,000 people would scream my name, and I would stand there smiling and feel nothing. Or worse, I'd feel afraid. Afraid they were screaming at someone I invented, not me, the real me. Nobody tells you that. Nobody tells you that more people watching you doesn't mean more people seeing you. Those are two different things, very different things. The boy said quietly, "So what do you do about it?" I said, "You find one person who knows your real name. I mean, your real name, not your stage name, not your image, your real name. And you hold on to that person even when the crowds are loud, especially when the crowds are loud. There was a woman in my life who loved me for free, no contract, no conditions. She loved me when I had nothing, and she loved me when I had everything. And I spent years being too busy for her, too angry, too proud, too whatever I was trying to be." I shook my head. You know what she asked me once? She said, "When are you going to come home?" I said, "I'm right here. I'm standing right here." She said, "That's not what I mean." I didn't understand it then. I understand it now. She was asking for my presence, not my body, not my name, my actual presence. And I gave it to everyone else first. Everyone. Don't do that, you hear me? Whatever you do with this music, with this career, don't give yourself to strangers before you give yourself to your people. I loved where I came from. I still do. But I had to learn something hard. The streets that made you will also bury you, if you let them. They don't have loyalty. They have gravity, and they pull down, especially when you start to rise. I had friends who would have died for me, real ones, and I had people who looked like friends, but they needed me to stay small, because my small made them feel big. You'll meet those people. They'll feel like family. Watch what happens when you outgrow them. I said everything out loud my whole life, every thought, every pain, every war. I put it all in the music, and that was right. That was the gift. But off the mic, I never learned to be quiet. I never learned to sit with something without reacting. Every emotion became a public event. Every wound became a battle. Somewhere around 40, I learned to be still, just still. And more got solved in that stillness than in all the noise I made before it, all of it. Stillness is not giving up. It's just knowing when to wait. I grew up without stability, moving, surviving, always moving. And when I got money, when I got freedom, I kept moving. I didn't know how to stop, because stopping felt like dying to me. Stillness felt like the thing I'd been running from, which was being alone with myself, really alone, no music, no people, just me. I turned to the boy. The thing you avoid the most? That's where the answer is. I promise you, every person I've ever met who found real peace, they all had to go through that door eventually. The one that scares them might as well go through it young. The boy said, "People already expect a lot from me, and I'm nobody yet." I laughed, a real laugh, low and warm. Yeah, I know that feeling. I thought I had to represent everybody, my neighborhood, my people, my generation, all of it on my back. And I carried it. I wanted to carry it, but nobody told me I could put it down sometimes. Nobody said, "Hey, you're also just a man. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to not have the answer. You're allowed to just be a person some days. You don't have to be a symbol every hour of every day." The music doesn't need a martyr. It needs you live, whole. And here, there's a philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, most powerful man in the world, and every morning he wrote in his journal, not for anyone to read, just to remind himself how to be human. He wrote things like, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." I didn't read that until I was past 40. I wish I read it at 20, because I spent so many years on fighting things I couldn't change. People's opinions, the industry, the image everybody had of me. I fought all of it. And all that fighting cost me things I can't get back. Things I can't get back. The Stoics believe that most suffering comes from wanting things to be different than they are, not from the things themselves, from the wanting. I believe that now. Took me 30 years, but I believe it. You know what's funny? The things I thought were destroying me were the things that made me. The poverty, the loss, the noise. I wouldn't have had anything to say without all of it. So even the pain was a gift, just a gift with bad packaging. I smiled. The boy stood up. He said, "I should go." I don't want to take up your whole night. I said, sit back down. I'm almost done. He sat. You came here tonight thinking you needed something from me, a feature, a cosign, a name, and I get it. I needed that too once. I understand the hunger, but I want you to hear this. You already have the only thing that matters. You have your hunger. You have your story. You have the years ahead of you. Do you understand what that means? There are men, old men, who would trade everything they built to stand where you're standing right now, at the beginning, with everything still possible, with nothing yet lost. That's not nothing. That is everything. The boy looked down. He was quiet. The world is going to tell you you're behind. It's going to show you people your age, further ahead, more famous, more money, more everything. Don't listen to that. You're not in a race. You're in a life. And the only clock that matters is the one that counts the years. You were actually present, the ones where you showed up, for the music, for the people you love, for yourself. I walked him to the door. I stopped at the threshold. I looked out at the street. One more time, I almost didn't open this door tonight. 3 more minutes, and you would have walked away, and I would have gone back to sitting alone with old music, thinking I had nothing left to give. But you knocked again, and I'm glad you did, because sometimes the thing that saves you is someone else's courage, not your own. I looked at him. Come back sometime. Bring the music. We'll finish it together. He nodded. He walked out into the night. I stood in the doorway for a long moment. The street was quiet. The air was warm. I thought about that car outside my mother's apartment. 30 years ago, engine off, dark outside. I thought, I should have gone inside. But tonight I opened the door. That was enough. Your story isn't finished. Don't let anyone write the ending for you.